Okay, so first of all, for context, for those that are listening, I think it's the month of August that you're listening to. So this is the last month. This is the 4th of July. So 4th of July just happened. I got it. And I just have to tell you, like, there's some things like you have your coworkers. You and I work together all the time. So you are surrounded by women all the time, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And a lot of touchy-feely things in your life, a lot, correct? Yes. So I love...
With the context, used to be an engineer, surrounded by and then are surrounded by analysts and all working with all men. So big
it was like
shift
a big
for
shift,
me.
right?
I'm still trying to adjust.
So for listeners, he throws out these funny things like sometimes where he's just like, today I need go home, chop wood. That's how it feels. You know what I mean? Like you're not, but you're
Steve is now a caveman.
I like how that's how it comes across. And meanwhile, all my guy friends think that I'm the squishiest, they can't relate to me.
Well, first of all, anyone who has to declare it, I think is also the problem there.
Yeah.
But I love that you're just
I don't fit in anywhere, Joe.
You're just like, when you have a real manly thing coming up, you love to end the day and say, hey guys, here's what I'm doing tonight or this weekend, right?
Chopping wood.
So it cracks me up. So chopping wood does come. And you actually had a chopper, where you just put the wood into a
just stop.
Right?
Just don't even try.
Several times. Okay. Well, I just saw you slip into that moment again on the 4th of July.
Okay.
So we had you were the co-host.
I don't even know where this is
You were the
headed.
co-host, and we had these fireworks. It was wonderful, wonderful. They did a great job, Joe. They wet the whole grass. They did all safe things because you're very safe. There
were many kids
and then
present.
everybody left. Everybody left except for me and you and 4 other people where we completely just kept talking and hanging out together. And as we're talking, a fire ignites. Way at the bottom of the hill where the fireworks were. A new, they already closed shop. You know what I mean?
Fireworks had been done for an hour.
An hour. And all of a sudden, and we both look.
They all lit on fire.
And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, you saved a family. I mean, he ran down there, he got that hose, and he was he got the fire out that could have burnt down the whole neighborhood. Because if we had left, Joe, they would have all been asleep. So this was a really,
I could
see this felt right.
Yes. Let's get a fake applause, please.
He completely loved that moment, though. That was one of those moments where you're moment to save.
Oh,
Fran, get hosed. Look at me.
Totally.
Hero.
Yes. And for all the guys out there afraid to admit it, I will admit it for you.
Yeah.
That we all plan these moments where we can feel super manly. And
it was great to watch. It was fun watching you have so much fun.
Yeah.
Running to get the hose.
That was fun.
So thanks for saving the family.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a shout out. It's interesting when we have a client come to us and we know their big goals. They're in 6 months, I want to get here, or in 3 months. So we as coaches, while we stay present with them in the moment, you know how it is. A session can get caught up in the day to day and they lose focus of the big picture. And it's our job to kind of help them remind them of the big picture. Well, it's also important to really listen. And I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my clients on both sides where she actually came in and said, let's work towards her goals. But she kept saying over and over and over again, I'm going out of town on vacation on Friday. I'm leaving out of town on vacation. And I saw this huge sense of overwhelm. And I just wanted to share for those of you who are getting ready to go out of town, sometimes that's the perfect moment to not think about your big goals, but to think, what are the top things that you need to do to go out of town successfully on Friday?
Yeah.
So we used our coaching session. And then, it's that thing I've mentioned to you before where you feel like you have 5,000 things.
Yep.
And there was, I think I told you there was
there's 4 or 5.
Four or 5. And they were all tangible things that she could absolutely do.
Yeah.
So when we slowed down and thought, these are the big picture can wait, girl. You're going on vacation.
Yeah.
What are the 4 to 5 things that need to get done? And I just wanted to give a shout out to her for going there with me. And then for just those that are listening to remember that's sometimes really what is the bigger need.
Okay, I have a similar shout out.
Okay.
And this person was the tagline that we walked away with was, it's okay to prioritize and do what I need to do for my own well-being. And it was funny because he started out with this it's okay. Basically, he got way too much going on. And then his one day off, he packed it full of entertaining friends and, totally hurting himself. And so he kind of had this realization like, yeah, like it's okay to say no to some stuff. But it was still laden with guilt and shame. It was still this like, I mean, that's not great. Like that's probably,
It doesn't feel as exciting either.
well, it was kind of like I'm not really giving it my all, but I guess it's okay.
Okay,
I guess
so
it's
even-
okay to prioritize myself. And where we ended up was this shift of like, what if the mindset was like, no, it's actually awesome to prioritize yourself. It's a good thing, not a shameful, like, well, I guess I got to do this.
Right.
And that little shift was all the difference because he's kind of like created space for himself, created prioritization in his work, but then he botches it every time. So, that was another similar type of shout out.
Yeah. So I have a personality gripe. Can I go there?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is frustrating, and I'm actually going to throw my own husband under the bus because he doesn't listen.
Let's do it.
But it is an introvert extrovert thing.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about it afterwards, but man, it can be a tough one. And this was what it was, is I was on the phone with my son.
Uh-huh.
And we were walking together. Adam and I were walking together, and he was talking through the move. My son just got a new job, and he's thinking about where he should live in his apartment. And we were just talking. You know where I'm going here. And I saw Adam just getting so panicked.
Uh-huh.
And then I put it on speaker, and I tried to involve him. At first, I thought maybe he was irritated that I wasn't bringing him into the conversation.
Yeah.
But then what happened was, which is what often happens with personalities, we were just walking and talking. My son and I were just talking. But my very introverted husband feels like talking is deciding.
You were externally processing, which since he doesn't do that, was confusing him because he would only say these things if it was already processed through internally and decided.
Most likely, yes, right. Or it would be much more less like all over the place. And we were all over the place, but we were just thinking through, should we co-sign? Should we not? And all of a sudden he heard co-sign. He was like, we haven't talked about this. It was more like, what are our options?
Yeah.
Of course we talked about it, but I'm really not as much throwing my husband under the bus because he knows this about himself and we talked about it and reined him in.
Yeah.
But in general, with personality types at work, this is such a hard one.
It's one of the biggest sources of dysfunction and conflict.
Yep.
And it happens, even if you're aware of it, it happens all the time. We're always teaching teams like, here's the trick though. The solution is so simple. It's just hard to do it. Like the extroverts have to say, I'm just processing.
Right.
This isn't decided. And the introverts have to say, hey, I'm processing and here's what I'm processing.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That solves it. It's just so hard to do it regularly because it's so against our nature.
It is. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So I would like to talk a little about sticky notes.
I'm in. I'm
They're
here for
really, really important,
Yeah.
actually. But first of all, I'm sorry. I should have done my research ahead of time, but I feel like this is going to age me. But there is a movie about these two girls who go back for their reunion. Remember in the 80s? And it's actually the girl from Friends who's the airhead. Come on.
the Rachel.
No, not Rachel, not
Phoebe?
Phoebe. Yes. So Phoebe's in the movie. You guys never saw this. And they go back to their
I don't
family
even know where you're
reunion.
going with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
And they
I
want
don't
so
have enough
badly.
information yet.
So sorry. They want to come across like they're important, and they aren't. They haven't done anything with their lives. It's just there. So they show up and they say that they invented the Post-it note.
Nice. I've not seen that, but I
Very
love the
funny.
premise.
Very, very funny. Okay,
Yeah.
so sticky notes. I want to talk a little bit about my sticky note journey with myself and COVID. Are you in? Shut up. Okay. So here's the deal. With COVID, the one thing that shifted a big at first was that we were by ourselves a lot. And the big thing that shifted for me as a speaker was, we had to learn to speak virtually. And I hadn't really done a ton of that yet. I had done some training for that, and some, but it was very unpopular, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I noticed was as I was beginning to be a speaker and be hired to be a speaker or working with teams and things like that one of my areas that I was really struggling with was, no surprise to you who works with me, is talking too fast.
Yeah, because one of your nerves things is like speeding up.
Yeah, I speed up when I get
Or
nervous.
just like filling the gap with words.
Completely.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want me to go on? I
Yeah,
have more examples.
So I think we might have even talked about it, but I was even feeling it. Like I was feeling, and virtually that just, in fact, with virtual, you actually have to slow down.
Right.
Because people have so much that they're trying to take in, and you can't just, in person, you can get away with a little bit. But man, I noticed that it was just going right over people's heads. So I decided to write myself a sticky note and put it on the computer, and it said, slow down and be present. That was my Post-it note. Yeah. And I thought, I'm going to try this. So what's interesting is you were on the training with me, but you were just mostly observing. And I think Jacqueline was as well. And afterwards, you know how we always kind of get together and we're like, fist pump each other, whether or not, or we go boo if it was. And you fist pumped me, and you were like, I don't know what was different about that one, but it was so much, it was so much more in control.
Yeah, I do remember it now. Yeah.
And first of all, we have a great, one of the things I love about our culture at Greenhouse is we do real-time feedback.
Yeah. It was right away.
So I think you had told me several times before, it's too fast. Well, so I really took that. I was so excited. And then as we moved forward, by the way, you sometimes would still observe and have times where you would say, did you not do the sticky note today?
That's right. Yeah.
Remember? And I'd be
this is like taking me back.
Yes. It was like, it was all our learning journey. And I'd be like, no, I forgot. You actually would notice when I did not put the sticky note up.
That's right. Yeah. Because the sticky note was like this, it was your little coach in the moment.
It was my coach.
And you'd see it and adjust.
Yes.
And yeah, because I know you so well, like I could notice that.
Yep.
Audience probably wasn't noticing as much, but it was noticeable when you were rushing out of the nerve or the like verses for impact strategically.
Absolutely.
And then slowing down, because you have a really good way of speaking where you kind of will speed up and slow down strategically to make an impact.
Right.
And it was it's funny because after that, I'm not sure where you're going with this, but that became a major coaching topic.
I bet those listening are also feeling that way.
They're like, I'm not sure why I'm listening to this, but I'm still very intrigued. They're like still holding on.
They are. Please hold on.
Well, it became a big coaching topic.
It did. And so that's actually where I'm landing is, since it worked for me, I started bringing it into my coaching, tools as one of the things, because what people would say to me is sometimes it wasn't about facilitating. For me, it was. Yeah. Although I did have a lot of people who were about to do something virtual, and I would say, all right, try this trick. And the feedback, but afterwards was like, wow, that helped me so much. Now, let's take it into let's widen the scope a bit. If we widen the scope, what I've also worked with people now is, you know how it is. We try to change 5,000 things, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And I know those listening are like, yes, we know that. But what are some tactical things that we can do to find that one thing to make one small change?
Yeah.
So really what I'm asking today is for people to walk away thinking, is there a sticky note that you need to write for yourself?
Yeah.
To get you to focus on just that thing. And wherever you hang it is totally fine.
Yeah.
It's finally, but it's this reminder to you that the habits in our life cannot change. They cannot change from just one sticky note.
That's so
it's going to
great.
take time.
The other night we were at the pool for my daughter's swim meet, and me and Ashley had a mini fun coaching session. We try to stay away from this, but I think we both wanted to go for it around an area of nerves she had before going into working with clients. And it was that she realized before going into a client session, sometimes she's like real worked up in the morning and nervous because she just doesn't know how it's going to go. And I don't know, there's a whole bunch of things that could cause the nerves. And so we worked on a sticky note strategy.
I love it.
Of finding what was that one thing. And of course, in this scenario, it was like a mindset shift. And what she found was a mindset that was like, I am good at this.
Yep.
And it is going to help them. Because I think that's where a lot of the doubts would creep in.
Yeah, doubts is a whole other thing. You totally led me to where I was actually headed, which was that sometimes it's habits and sometimes it's mindset. And as I've been working out, we've had COVID now, it's 3 years. How long has it? Wow. 3 years? Yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah.
This has become a big actual coaching practice now, is that when people, I'm going to throw some examples out for some people who are like, that's one. I am good enough is like, or I'm good, or I know it sounds so silly, but some people will just be like, I'm smart enough. Remember when I was coaching this one client who had worked somewhere for 25 years?
Yeah.
and all of a sudden she was redeployed. I'll talk about confidence. Like it just blew up inside of her. And so one of her sticky notes was reminding her that she was smart and capable.
Yeah.
Because as she was starting to talk to new job opportunities, that smart and capable was just somewhere deep buried inside again. And she was doubting everything that was coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
So
or, there's a almost flip side one that comes up a lot, especially for men around, there's different phrases, but the sticky note might be like, you don't need to say the answer or slow down and focus on the person.
Yep.
Like you don't have to always have the solution because there's a feeling, especially in meetings of like, I got to show face and show that I know something.
Yeah.
But actually you drive people away by doing that too much.
Yeah. So I think the key is when people are listening is you and I both know that we coach people all the time and we'll give them like a statement or a word or something and they'll go, yeah. They're super excited. But what I'm challenging people to do is to take it past the thought in the head because I don't know, there's something powerful about writing it down and having it in front of you.
Yeah.
So if you're like, well, this seems so simple, it lives in my head and I do this. It's just one notch more powerful when you get it out of your head.
Yeah. And then it actually drives me nuts, but it's kind of funny. What happens, especially in companies, is everyone's like, yeah, that thing didn't work. So what's the next flavor of the month? Who's the next consultant we can bring in? And they just like try, and nothing ever takes. Well, it's because you only had the idea and then moved on with your busy day.
Absolutely.
Like what happens in a coaching session and why it's so worth all the money it costs is because after you have the light bulb moment, I ask you like 26 freaking more questions to help you actually make sure that it takes root. And it's usually like all this stuff that's like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Whoa. Yeah, I know that's like not actually going to happen and you're solving for that.
Yep.
So I like that the Post-it note is kind of a hack for all of that.
Yeah.
You could do it for yourself and it's it's not always like bulletproof, but it is really effective.
It helps. It does. This one's I'm going to give some more examples here. This one's going to crack you up because we hear it a ton. So I will be working with people, and when I gain that trust, I sometimes will say, can I call out something that I'm observing while we're talking? And you know that a lot of people say kinda and maybe a whole bunch. They say, well, I'm kind of thinking and maybe, and I don't know. Like, and all of a sudden, everything they just said, they kind of took back with their language. A lot of people do this.
Yeah.
And they're like leaders.
Yeah. They end the sentence with,
I don't know, maybe kinda.
I don't know. As a way to kind of collaborate and like not be authoritarian, or they end it with right.
That one drives you crazy, but they're not really asking.
What do you mean right?
Right.
So
let's just say right was yours. You would write down stop saying right. Stop saying right. If it was kinda and maybe, just write down the words no more kinda and maybe, or just the words kinda and maybe.
I know.
With a line through it.
I have it for this podcast. I read it before every session because I have noticed I'm saying like a lot. And my Post-it note is to pay attention to that.
To pay attention to that. And by the way, the kinda and maybe, in all fairness, I like to talk about people like the motivation. I recognize that people are trying exactly like what you said. They're trying to not be so, I said this, but it's also not working with kinda and maybe. It's really not making you look sure of what you're saying.
Yeah, the correction needs to be more in the tone than in adding words like that.
Absolutely.
And that is, that's a whole topic right there.
The next one that I wrote as an example is say something and shut up. By the way, this is one of my most popular ones because so many people, Joe, did you just raise your hand?
Yeah, you've coached me on that.
When does it show up for you?
Here in the studio.
That's right.
We're talking about something and it's the same thing you're saying that I don't know, or you don't want to sound like authoritarian or anything. And so you keep talking and just say it.
Right. So you'll direct us. You're the producer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. And you'll give us a boom, but then you're like, ooh, I want to make sure that didn't sound
and
so
then you
boom.
try to like make a softer
and then you're like,
landing.
And there's a whole bunch of words afterwards where he could have just landed on the boom.
Yeah.
That's
or
all we
marriage,
needed.
which I feel like so many topics come back to marriage.
Yeah,
also.
they really do.
Yeah.
Say something.
Well, let me clarify because I think some people could be hearing this wrong. So the point is make the point and put a period at the end of it.
Exactly.
And stop talking.
That's what it means.
Because when you add the buffer filler stuff at the end, it diminishes the power of the point you made.
Yes.
So it's not about shutting up because you're talking too much or something.
Right.
It's about like make the point stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. They over explain. So that one is a huge one that a lot of people have. The sticky note was another one is just don't question myself. A lot of people just feel that every time they say something that self-doubt is coming in. Next one is an example of when people are interviewing, because we get this desperation to be hired. And I sometimes will have people say, you're okay even if they don't want you. Or I'm okay even if they don't want me. The point is to be internally okay, regardless of the outcome. So, we could go on and on. I'm just going to the last three is you are qualified. This one's great. Remember when we were even doing training in Atlanta? This one called Ask One More Question was probably one of the most popular sticky note ideas that people wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because what happens in a meeting is we have this tendency to just interject, and say all these things. Instead, why not pause and ask another question about what you've just said? Because now I'm leaning into more curiosity. And also that person might not be done.
Yeah.
It's a tone thing too.
And it's ironically an influence thing. So you're interjecting with your awesome point in order to influence, but actually what you do is piss everyone off that you just like stepped on.
Yeah.
So asking one more question is helpful for the conversation and the meeting. And it's honestly even helpful for you to like gain that kind of trust with people.
Yeah, it is. You know that I have a few clients who have come to me specifically for the fact of how they're come across in meetings.
Yeah.
And I have this one client who she's so smart and capable. She has 5,000 great ideas, but they are good, but she says them in the wrong place, the wrong time, and people end up frustrated.
Yeah.
So this one skill of asking one more question has just made her slow down and lean into curiosity. So ask one more question. And then I wrote smile.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't smile in between their thoughts. They get into like this mode of just I always say like, it's like throw up all your words, just get them all out there and then you're like, I did it. Instead, learn to smile. So I'll shut up with my prompts. But the bottom line
Joe's so smiley over there.
I know he is. There's one more. I'm so sorry. Tell me more is another prompt. Learning to use tell me more. When people say something, say tell me more and you lean more into curiosity. That's another great sticky note. So maybe one of these sticky notes today stands out to you. But the bottom line is think about how do I prompt myself to actually make one change? And then ask yourself, what does my sticky note need to be?
What does your sticky note need to be?